On August 23, 1954, the C-130 Hercules flew for the first time. It was built as a transport aircraft. But over the years, that same airframe was asked to do far more than carry cargo. It took on jobs like drone control, psychological operations, early warning, sea patrol, electronic warfare, and search and rescue. Few aircraft designs have ever proven this flexible, yet one version stands above the rest in fame and reputation. That is the AC-130. For many people, it is the most iconic gunship ever made. Movies, video games, and real combat footage helped turn it into a legend. In some circles, it is even more well-known than the base C-130 itself. It has served for nearly 60 years, and it still matters today. That alone says a lot about the strength of the original design and how much growth the platform allowed. In the mid-1960s, the idea of building more gunships started to feel realistic. Combat experience in Vietnam pushed the concept forward. The word gunship came from the sea. Naval ships used side guns that fired as the ship passed a target. Doing something similar in the air was a new idea. Instead of flying straight at a target for a fast strafe or a bomb drop, a gunship could circle. It could stay overhead as long as fuel allowed. Its guns would remain aimed at one area the whole time. That meant longer observation and steady fire. It also meant more risk, because a circling aircraft can be easier to hit. But the trade was worth it. Constant pressure on a target can change a battle quickly. The roots of the gunship idea go back to the Second World War. By the mid-1940s, some aircraft began to carry more and more heavy guns for attacks against ground and sea targets. Earlier bomber destroyers had focused on air-to-air combat, often using heavy fighters. But attention shifted. Designers started to push for aircraft that could hit ground targets with strong cannon fire. The British modified the Mosquito for this. The FB Mark VI carried 4.303 Browning machine guns and 420 mm Hispano cannons. It could smash precise targets like houses and armored vehicles with intense bursts. The FB Mark T8 went even further for anti-ship work. It added a 57 mm cannon to the mix. Germany did similar things. Ju-87 Stukas were fitted with 37 mm cannon pods for anti-tank missions. The Ju-88P was less famous, but it carried various heavy cannons too, including even a 75 mm gun in some forms. Later in World War II, the Americans pushed the idea hard in the Pacific. The B-25 Mitchell became a major example. Some versions gained rockets, a 75 mm M4 cannon, and heavy machine guns. The B-25J could carry an extreme load of .50 caliber guns, with many mounted forward for strafing. Packing more systems into a plane increased the chance of mechanical problems. But these aircraft proved useful because the firepower jump was so dramatic. Around this time, American designers began thinking beyond forward strafing. They proposed heavier aircraft with side-mounted weapons. That layout could carry more guns and more ammo, and it could fire while turning around a target instead of charging straight in. From late 1942, there were experiments along these lines. Some A-20 Havocs and B-25S were tested in special roles. The Boeing YB-40 Flying Fortress was another important step. It was a modified B-17 meant to escort other bombers with heavy defensive armament. It was not a side-firing gunship, but its armed-to-the-teeth approach influenced later thinking. It showed how much firepower could be built into a larger airframe. By the early 1960s, the gunship idea still looked promising, but progress had been slow. Tests happened, yet no true production gunship aircraft had appeared. One effort, Project Tailchaser, turned a Convair C-131 into a basic gunship with a single side-mounted GAU-2 minigun. It gained little attention. That changed when Captain Ron Terry stepped in. After returning from Vietnam in the early part of the war, he had seen how useful slow aircraft could be at night. Platforms like the C-47 and C-123 helped ground forces by orbiting and providing light and support. The method was simple: keep circling until the job was done, or until fuel ran low. Terry and his team used the modified C-131 for testing. They found something important. Even simple cockpit markings done with a grease pencil could help guide accurate side fire, and this was with only one minigun. That result was hard to ignore. On December 4, 1964, Terry's team went back to Vietnam. They modified two C-47Ds into gunship form. Within 10 days, both aircraft were ready. They were called FC-47S at first. They were handed to the 1st Air Commando Squadron for field testing. Each aircraft carried three 7.62 mm miniguns mounted along the side. The guns were placed in improvised pods fixed into window openings. It was a rough setup, but it worked. From December through February, these aircraft performed especially well at night. They flew 16 early combat sorties, and everyone succeeded. Then came a dramatic moment on February 8, 1965. Over a 4-hour period, an estimated 20,000 rounds were fired. The result was the near total destruction of a Viet Cong outpost used to stage attacks on U.S. troops. By July 1965, these aircraft earned famous nicknames like Spooky and Puff. They also received the AC-130 designation. By the end of that year, 20 aircraft were operating with improved changes. The number grew to 41 in Vietnam. They used modular minigun systems, with later standardized sets replacing earlier pods. Until 1968, the AC-130 was the only fixed-wing gunship in regular service. It filled a critical support role for ground forces. At places like Khe Sanh, Spooky aircraft delivered vital night fire support. Their success was noticed back in the United States. In 1967, American designers took the lesson seriously. The fixed-wing gunship offered abilities no other platform could match at the time. The AC-130 was cheap to modify and easy to maintain compared to many combat aircraft. It could respond quickly to calls for help. It could stay over a target for hours, and it was accurate, even with its unusual firing method. All of this led directly to a new effort, Project Gunship II. The goal was clear: build something better than the AC-130. Use a utility aircraft, add heavier weapons, and bring in newer sensors and control systems so the aircraft could handle many mission types. By mid-1967, the C-130 Hercules was chosen as the base platform. The aircraft was modified at Eglin Air Force Base. The first prototype included systems considered advanced for that era. It received an early FLIR sensor, night vision devices, and an analog fire control system. Along the left side, it carried multiple miniguns. This first aircraft arrived in Vietnam on September 21, 1967. It went through a 3-month test deployment. During that time, the design was improved based on real use. By 1968, the new gunship was ready for official service. Other C-130 airframes were modified too. The new version was named the AC-130A. These aircraft reached Tan Son Nhut Air Base in June 1968 and supported operations during the Tet period. The Alpha model carried side-firing weapons. Early versions included 20 mm61 cannons. By 1969, some aircraft also received the 40 mm Bofors. In Vietnam, this gunship became known as the Spectre. It earned a strong reputation for precision. Because it was large and slow, it often flew with fighter escorts such as the F-4 Phantom. Even early Spectres could provide close air support very near friendly troops because their fire control system was accurate enough to place bursts where they were needed. In 1969, the Spectre became even more capable through an upgrade called Surprise Package. Several aircraft were rebuilt to a much higher standard. They still used the Alpha designation, but the changes were major. They received improved FLIR, better TV systems and recording, an early digital fire control computer, and a new inertial navigation system. A key addition was a laser-aided TV system for targeting, paired with a laser designator. These improvements shaped what people would later think of as the classic AC-130 advantage. By 1970, most AC-130As had been brought up to this level. They performed extremely well, especially at night. Low-light TV systems made it easier to spot vehicles and troops in darkness. Once a target was found, 20 mm and 40 mm bursts could destroy it quickly. Some Alpha models added an AN/ASD-5 magnetic anomaly detector. It had been designed to find submarines. AC-130 crews used it in a new way. They used it to help detect vehicles and transmitters by picking up engine ignition signals that were not well shielded. This helped locate enemy assets even in thick jungle. In 1971, the next step appeared, the AC-130E. This Pave Spectre model used stronger Allison T-56A15 engines, taken from newer transport variants. The aircraft was tougher and more advanced. It looked more like what many people imagine when they hear Wachio AC-130. It carried weapons similar to the upgraded Alpha models. Some E models tested a 105 mm howitzer in 1971. By mid-1972, certain Echo models were upgraded again to a hotel standard under the Pave Spectre II program. These aircraft standardized the 105 MMM 102 and the stronger engines. They also improved avionics, added changes to the outer wing, upgraded radar, and used better night vision systems. By 1973, these gunships had reportedly destroyed around 10,000 trucks during the war. The aircraft returned to the region in April 1975. For the first 2 weeks, they flew overwatch during the emergency withdrawal from Cambodia as the Khmer Rouge took control. After that, they shifted to support the evacuation from Saigon. Through the 1970s and 1980s, upgrades continued. New guns, better computers, improved cameras, and more capable sensors were added over time. The U.S. Air Force operated Alpha, Echo, and Hotel variants together. They plan to use them for high-risk missions too, including support concepts tied to the 1980 Tehran hostage crisis effort. In the 1980s, the AC-130 saw important combat use again. During the 1983 invasion of Grenada, an AC-130 crew provided fire support and helped suppress enemy air defenses. This supported rapid control of key areas. From 1983 to 1989, AC-130H crews also operated in El Salvador, tracking and monitoring guerrilla activity in support of the government side. As the war dragged on, rules became looser, and crews were eventually cleared to engage targets. The gunships played a major role in the conflict's outcome. In 1989, during the U.S. invasion of Panama, AC-130 crews helped destroy key command sites and supported troops as they secured objectives. Some of the most famous AC-130 actions came in 1991. During Desert Shield and Desert Storm, Alpha and Hotel variants deployed to the Middle East. Their tasks ranged from overwatch to close support for moving ground forces. Because they often worked at lower altitudes, many missions were done at night to reduce risk. One well-known case involved a Hotel model, Spirit 03, supporting Marines at Kafji. As daylight arrived, the crew asked to stay on station. With the aircraft exposed, it was shot down by an SA-7 missile. The AC-130 also hunted armored units. When enemy columns moved toward coalition troops, gunships were sent to strike and slow them, acting like a shield in the dark. This helped to build the aircraft's fearsome reputation. After the Gulf War, the Air Force pursued another major upgrade. The goal was to add a stronger model that could support the H version and replace older aircraft still filling the role. The answer was the AC-130U, called Spooky, a name chosen to honor the earlier AC-47. Nearly every internal system was improved. The twin 20mm guns of the H model were replaced by a single 25mm gun that offered better accuracy while keeping the 40mm Bofors and 105mm howitzer. The U model gained far better sensors, radar, and fire control. It could even manage 2 targets at once in certain setups, with operators tracking separately. With improved radar, infrared, and low-light TV systems, it became the best of its line for night and bad weather operations. Deliveries began in 1996. This strengthened the fleet and helped phase out Vietnam-era aircraft. Then the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan changed the demands again. The AC-130 had already proven itself, but insurgent warfare created new problems. Close support in cities raised the risk of civilian harm. Precision became even more important. Missions often needed to happen at night. Loiter time mattered more than ever. While a next-generation plan was already forming, Special Operations Command wanted an interim solution for intense special missions. In 2010, SOCOM procured aircraft to modify for this job. They used the MC-130W combat spear as the base. The result became the AC-130W, first called Dragon Spear, later renamed Stinger II. This W model arrived in Afghanistan in late 2010 and stood out from older gunships. It carried a 30mm Bushmaster II chain gun. It also used precision-guided weapons stored inside, including small missiles and guided bombs, with the option for wing pylons as well. It used Hellfire missiles in combat soon after arriving, striking insurgents with high accuracy. 14 aircraft served, with most converted from existing MC-130 airframes. The W model helped shape the next major step, the AC-130J Ghost Rider. Purchased starting in 2014, it entered service in late 2017 and deployed in 2019. By 2022, older AC-130 variants had retired, leaving the Ghost Rider as the main model in service. Like every major step before it, the Ghost Rider combined lessons from earlier Spectre and Spooky models with systems tied to special operations needs. It continued the same basic promise: long loiter, heavy firepower, and precision support. For nearly 6 decades, the AC-130 has remained a core asset for American forces. From Vietnam to the Middle East, it has repeatedly proven its value. It began as a bold idea, then became a platform that changed close air support. Even in modern war, it still has a place, and judging by its history, it will likely keep that place for a long time.